You know what's interesting? For the last probably 15 years, there's been an interesting relationship we've all seen play out in our face. And that is Shaq and Dwight Howard's relationship.
Yep.
And Shaq, as we know, can be sensitive at times, can be a bully at times,
Yes.
can be hilarious and funny at times. That's just Shaq, all things encompassing.
Yep.
And so one of the persons that he tends to go at is Dwight Howard. And whether that was his gameplay or lack thereof. And one of the things that I love Shaq, drives me crazy about Shaq, though, is he'll say things like, I was the most dominant force ever. Nobody could be like me. I was the one. I'm one of the best ones you ever seen. But then he'll turn around and say this. Shaq at halftime, I'm Ernie Johnson here. Shaq, what did you think of such and such performance? It was terrible. He should be doing better. He should be giving me SLN. What's that, Shaq? Shaq-like numbers. Like, everybody can't give you – if you're one of one, right, you're this great, this freak of nature, amazing, all-time great. But then on the flip side, everybody's supposed to be putting up numbers like you. Like, that can't be. Either you were just that unique, that special, that talented, that different, and then there's the rest of the guys. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, everybody can't be Jordan. Everybody can't be Patrick Mahomes. Everybody can't be Tiger Woods. Everybody can't be Shaq. But he was always on Dwight Howard. And I think a part of that was Shaq was the man in Orlando for a handful of seasons before he went to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. Well, Orlando drafts Dwight. He becomes the man, takes him to a finals, four-time defensive player. He's that guy. I think Shaq might have felt a little something about that. Shaq was one of the more entertaining guys in the league. Fun. We loved him. He was just jovial. He was personality. Dwight kind of became that. Fun. Everyone loved him. Dancing, cheesing, smiling, and kept the dunk contest alive for a couple of seasons.
Yep.
And came out as Superman, which is what Shaq has tattooed on his arm. Yep. And I think his own partner, Kenny Smith, Superman is in the building.
Superman is in the building. Yes,
and I think Shaq took that, like, hold on. Then Dwight had the nerve to become a Laker as well. So I think there's a little bit of that. Like, he's following in my footsteps. He's kind of, I don't know if I like that. But I said all that to say that's what made it interesting that Dwight Howard said, one of the persons I would love to bring me in for my Hall of Fame, and as I'm being enshrined, is Shaq. Yep. And I was like, whoa. I thought there was beef there. There were some issues. So I want to play what Dwight had to say on Dan Patrick, and then I want to get your thoughts. Here we go.
You think you and Shaq will ever be friends?
Yes. We actually – I saw him in Orlando, actually, after I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was out at a restaurant eating with my family and my friends, and the owner said that Shaq was actually at the restaurant. And I said, I'm going to go talk to him. And everybody was like, what? I said, yes, I'm going to go talk to him. I got up, went over to where he was at, shook his hand, asked could we have a minute alone, and we had a real good conversation. And I was very happy about it. We expressed some things. And, the next time you see both of us together, we'll talk about the stuff that we had a sit-down about. But it was a really good talk, and I'm glad that the universe, everything worked out perfectly.
That is actually amazing that
the
person, the day he puts it out there, and then the day he's announced he sees Shaq at a restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy threw him alley-oop. Like, go ahead and do that. But your thoughts on just kind of their relationship, their dynamic, and Dwight wanting him to be the guy to bring him into the Hall of Fame?
I think that's the coolest thing I've heard today, to be honest. Yeah. Just coming from Dwight's perspective. Dwight didn't have to reach out to that guy. That guy's been Shaq's been really – really hard on Dwight for a long time, man. And like you said, not even for his play, really, because his play speaks for itself. He's a Hall of Famer, right, at the end of the day. But just like you said, comparing himself to Dwight never asked to be compared to Shaq.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't even –
right.
The conversation doesn't – that conversation doesn't even exist,
He can't control who drafted him.
No. And so, like, the fact that this guy is, like, constantly berating him his whole career – to get to this point, to actually still want to mend that relationship and make that relationship a viable thing, and actually have him be the one to, like you said, be a part of your Hall of Fame ceremony. I think I think the whole conversation around this is just my adoration for Dwight for being big enough to actually do that and make that relationship stronger on his behalf, for him, not for Shaq. And that's kind of where I stand with the whole thing. What about you?
Well, you know what? I think one of the things I think we've learned about Shaq, he's going to speak his mind.
Yeah.
He's going to be disgruntled about things. Yeah. He's going to pick on people at times. But I also think we know Shaq has a really big heart.
For sure.
And you know this.
Yes.
I think Dwight has been proving that he does too. He's never been a mean guy or anything like that. I think when two men get in the room, and you know this, and I think you probably know this even more now on this side of media versus being the player.
Yeah. You
got to speak your mind. You got to say things, and some days, listen, I'm on 2 different microphones every day.
Yeah.
I am on TV news every single day live. I do this live every day with Rob, and you're going to say something you didn't really mean. You're going to say something, or you had a bad day, or that person had a bad game or day, and you took it out, maybe you're a little too hard, or just so on and so forth.
Yep.
But when you actually sit down and get in a room, like we were trying to do, believe it or not, I don't know if you heard about that, with RG3 and Rob. We were trying to, get those two to.
What happened? It fell through?
I'm not.
Okay.
It just fell through. It fell through.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out and come to the same agreement on a couple of things. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But that was the goal, because when you get two grown men who don't have real hatred, right? It's not like it's beef on the street. You didn't slap my mom or something crazy, We can sit down, hash it out. Look, man, I was on TV. I was having fun. I was just poking fun at you. Or the other person, hey, man, I don't know if you knew that. I know you were just trying to be, critical of my game, but I took it personally because you would bring up da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And you can hash these things out.
100%.
So I love to see that.
Yep.
I love to see men be men. I love it when I saw Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, and that was different because they were actually best friends for a very long time.
100%.
Best friends.
Yep.
And for them to not speak for decades and finally hash it out and tape it for all of us to see, I thought that was therapeutic for all of us.
Man, it was so
good. To
good.
see 2 grown, famous, successful men who had gone through their own personal struggles and battles, and then to sit there and say, I'm sorry, I love you, and let's get back to it, and hug and cry it out. That was amazing. It was one of my favorite moments from seeing pro athletes kind of hash some things out. But yeah, and I also say this. It made me think too, who would you have bring you out? If you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, not a family member, not because I think that's kind of a given, a father, a mother, maybe if it's an uncle or somebody who's in life, but a non-family member.
Yep.
In this case, it was Shaq. It's Shaq for Dwight.
Yep.
Who would it be? Maybe in the sports world, just to keep it kind of somebody who had an impact in your life. Who would that be for you?
Yeah, I'll keep it in the sports world, man. And when I came in as a rookie to the New York Jets, I had a great crop of veterans there when I got there to kind of show me the ropes, show me how it was to be a pro. I was a rookie coming in, and I started from day one, right? Like I was thrown in the fire. So having to grow up really quickly and learn how to do it. There was a special teammate of mine who's still one of my really good friends right now. And to think, and like in this whole process, we didn't talk for years, right? We went
right.
He ended up going to a different team, and we kind of fell off a little bit, and but we reconnected a few years later after we retired, and literally sat down at dinner, and it just picked up right where the old times were, man. And it was such a beautiful thing, and he's part of the Fox family too, so it's actually cool. But Jonathan Vilma, so he would be the one.
Yeah.
He would be the one that I would definitely call to welcome me out. That's my brother, one of the best guys out there, student of the game, somebody I love, man. As a brother, so that would be my guy for sure.
I love it, man. I love hearing about those great relationships.
Yeah.
For me, it would have been, not that I played professionally. I don't know if you knew that. I didn't play in the league. I just want to make sure you didn't get confused.
I thought
thought I wasn't in the league or
I saw
something.
I saw your stats right beside me sitting here while I'm sitting here. Yeah, it was.
Why is the page blank? Don't do me like that. No, but I think it would be awesome. It would be the late, great Greg Harden. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was my best friend's father, and he was just G Harden for me. What up, G? Hey. But I didn't realize at the time how much he meant to so many people.
Yep.
His passing and his celebration of life last year. I mean, you had Michael Phelps was there.
Really?
Tom Brady.
Wow.
Tom Brady did a special video for him. Charles Woodson, my boy Desmond Howard was there. He meant so much to so many people. He was basically a sports counsel, sports therapist, sports just guru, if you will, at Michigan, and helped athletes of all athletes, not just, gymnasts, baseball players, helped them with the mental aspect of it. As you know, it can get tight. non-professionals don't know that. But it would have been him, but he passed last year. So rest in peace to my man G. Harden. But my Coach Swift back in high school, man, it's amazing to have great people like that. Coach Swift for me was that guy that just took a liking to me, was hard on me, expected greatness from me, but also knew how to motivate me, and also knew how in the middle of a game, if he needed me to lock down the other team's point guard, he gave me that look like, hey, man, clamp him down. And then fast forward, he ended up being part of Derek Jeter's foundation. He kind of was helping run that and had me speak to the kids and do some cool stuff. And we check in with each other. And so he's just been a great guy. Like you said, we don't talk all the time. Years went by, but I know what he meant to me then. I know what he's so proud of me now to see where little crazy K-Dub would grow up to be. And so he would be the guy, non-family, just to come out there because he knew the athletic side of me and he kind of seen me throughout the years. So I know it's cool and special to have that.
How cool is that, though, to have that person? I think that's kind of what we do, me and you individually, which I've gotten to know you here better as we've done more and more shows and talk. But just that mentorship and how big it is, and actually stepping in that role and using it for the greater good and not demeaning guys, especially when you've done that thing. Like, really, that's the part about the whole Shaq and Dwight thing that was kind of frustrating for me from afar, right?
Great point, yeah.
Shaq's seen and actually gone through some of this same stuff and has been attacked by people that he looked up to, right? He always talked about that story with him and Kareem. Like, why wouldn't you change that and do something else for the youth or for somebody that you see that can be as great as you? And that's why I always had a little negative discourse when it came to that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you thought that's one thing, Shaq, you would love to see. And I will reserve the idea that maybe he does it. We don't know. I'll reserve that. Yeah. But to knowledge, you would love to see Shaq. Dwight, man, come to the crib. Let's chop it up. Yes. Here's a couple of moves I did. Here's how I dealt with the pressure of being a Laker. Here's how I dealt with the pressure of being a superstar in the NBA. Here's a couple of little things. Here's my guy who's a specialist with shooting. Whatever it is, you'd love to see more of the mentor aspect of it versus the, hey, you're not putting up numbers like me, then you're not great. Hey, you're not dunking on everybody like I would have did. Hey, you don't have 4 rings like I did. It's like, all right, we got it. We got it. Right. You're one of one. We know that. And I did think I'd want that.